Hey nerds, and welcome to the Season 2 finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this was an amazing wrap-up to the season. We got a lot of closure on things that were happening with the Inhumans, with Cal. Basically, Sky's whole family storyline got wrapped up, so that was 2 seasons in the making. There was a lot going on, and just a lot of changes for our team. So I'm just going to run through everyone and kind of where I think they're headed or what's going on there, and then get into the 2 big questions about what's going on for the future. So Ward, the show ended with him alluding to taking the head of Hydra, but I'm not entirely sure that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to just form his own team. He's going to take the infrastructure from Hydra and form something of his own. And I really do. I'm doubling down on this, that he is the Taskmaster. He's going to start his own kind of mercenary school, because he didn't buy into the Hydra ethos and everything they were preaching, but he is a mercenary, and he's definitely out for revenge, and he really does have an axe to grind against Coulson and his team, even though it was his fault that Agent 33 died. But yes, I'm doubling down. Ward is Taskmaster, and my reasoning for that is, if he wasn't someone unique or special, he has no right going toe-to-toe with Bobby, because Bobby should be cleaning his clock. But, and frankly, she did. She kicked his butt pretty good. But, he did do pretty good against her, and that's why I think he is someone like Taskmaster. Moving on, May, she's taking a vacation. Possibly getting back together with her ex, which it was a little confusing in the episode if that's exactly what was happening, because I thought he was actually in a relationship right now, but that's happening, so who knows what changes we're going to see in May for Season 3 and when she comes back. I'd actually like to find out more about her family. We saw May's mom in Season 1, and we know she's some sort of spy or something along those lines, so that'd be interesting to get a little more background on her. But May is going to come back changed, I think, for Season 3. Now, Mac, who quit S.H.I.E.L.D. last week, he was strange this episode, because he was like defending the ship. He was against his people, and he was posing with that axe, and I don't know why you'd take an axe over a gun, except that they needed him to have it so he could chop off Coulson's hand. Spoiler, but you're watching this, so it's already been, you know what happened. But I like the role he's in, where he's kind of the curator of alien tech. That's an interesting role for him, because he hates it. He hates anything alien, which was kind of something that is coming into play a lot with certain characters. But I like that he's the one that's in charge of it. So it's a better fit for him. I never really saw him as a field agent, but this does fit kind of the personality and the emotional arc they've given him, so that's a nice fit for him. And this, I guess that does change that he isn't going to be following the same path as his character in the comic of kind of the CIA liaison with S.H.I.E.L.D. So next, Hunter and Bobby. Now, this season finale was written in a way to lead directly into the spin-off show, where they, whatever it was going to be, of Hunter and Bobby off on their own adventures. That last line she has, where she just says, "I'm done," that's what that was. But that show's been put on kind of on they've shelved it for the time being, because Hunter and Bobby really did help make Season 2 as great as it was. So I think they are going to take some time. She's going to heal, from the physical and emotional scars, but then I think she's going to go hunting Ward, and eventually they will come back into the fold, but she's really wants to go take down Ward, and I think that's what you're going to see them doing during Season 3. And that makes sense after what he put her through. I mean, she's an agent. She's trained to handle that stuff, but at a certain point, that does get personal. Moving on to Coulson. Coulson lost his arm, and again, this is continuing that Empire Strikes Back Easter egg that they had in all of Phase 2 of the movies, where someone in each movie either already was missing an arm or lost an arm. And Coulson just following right along because he is, as Nick Fury said, he was an event in Fury's mind. He was the first Avenger, and that's what Project Tahiti was for. So it's neat that little tie-in. He's not going to stay armless for long. There's plenty of things that already exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether it's Deathlock technology, whether it's some sort of Stark tech arm, or whether Dr. Cho, who we saw in Age of Ultron, is going to create some sort of synthetic arm for him. But he will have an arm come season 3, and maybe it's going to have, it's going to have spy gadgets in there because it's Coulson. He loves spy gadgets. That takes us to Skye. She got over the stuff with her family pretty quickly, which was surprising. But she's moving right along into what has to be the Secret Warriors. Those blueprints, those are all going to be for her equipment, her base, the Caterpillar, as it was called in the comics. But Skye is definitely starting her Secret Warriors team. And we know that there's going to be a lot more powers popping up based on that last final moment. But we're going to get to that later. So yes, Skye, Daisy, Quake will be leading the Secret Warriors. And finally, Fitzsimmons. They love to break your heart, don't they? Both of them have the worst timing ever. But just that final moment when Simmons is yanked in by whatever that Kree Stone actually is, that had a lot of people surprised and really shocked. They weren't ready for that. So, but Simmons will be back. There's no way that killed her. But that all depends on what the stone actually is. Now, really quick, I did want to point out one thought I had, and that's Marvel in their cinematic universe is doing everything they can to get around the mutant thing. But if you looked at the character of Skye's mom, she parallels very closely the story arc and kind of the motivation of Magneto. He wants to defend his people. He will do anything to do it. Even so much as in the first X-Men movie where he is willing to turn all of the public leaders into mutants or kill them, doesn't matter. But there's a very similar feel to what Jia Yang is doing with the crystals that they have made. So I think it was an interesting play to have her very much like a Magneto type character. But she's gone now, we think. I'm fairly certain she's dead. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be one of the few places death sticks. Except finally in Age of Ultron, someone's died. But moving on to the two big things for what looking forward. What is that stone? And then what does season 3 hold for us? So some more options for the stone. One is that it's some sort of prison and that it responds to kind of that inhuman genetic variation in people, and this is one theory, is that any time an inhuman was near it is when it turned liquid. So the theory goes that Simmons is actually inhuman, which would be kind of very ironic since she was the one that was completely anti the Inhumans, and she was terrified of what Skye was and just what the Inhumans could do. So the fact that she might be one is very, very cool. So if it is a prison, that could explain that. It's kind of Doctor Who with the kind of the Dalek prison that they had, but it still is a really cool idea. And I got to give credit to the internet and just some of the people on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show for bringing that theory to my attention. Another thing is it's maybe a Kree genetic computer of some sort that is creating countermeasures to battle the Inhumans. So when it pulled Simmons in, it found someone that was of a mindset that it could use to create weapons to battle the Inhumans. So it's possible she could come out as, at this point, anyone really. But jokingly, I said she's going to be Captain Marvel, but that's not really what's going to happen. And then the last thing is that this is one theory that's out there, but I don't think it fits with what we know about the diviners. And it's that the casing of the diviners was actually cut out of the stone, and that's why there's these holes. But this thing seems really hell bent on getting the Inhumans, um, but they could touch the diviners, so there seems to be a contradiction there. But people were just trying to put two and two together with what those holes were and the shape of the diviners. I don't think that fits, but it is a popular theory out there, so I'm putting that out. Uh, but those are the big ones right now for what the stone is. Then that takes us to what are we going to see in season 3? Well, the big one is Shield versus Ward. Whatever Ward is putting together, I don't think it's a Masters of Evil because I think we're going to get them in Captain America: Civil War. But I do think it might be Taskmaster and his kind of school, mercenary school. He's definitely going to take Hydra's infrastructure. I doubt he's going to call himself Hydra, but that I think is going to be one of the big focuses of the first that first season. It would be interesting if he even went so far as to take on the role of Hammer, and maybe he was doing something like that. That would be interesting. The next thing we're going to be seeing in season 3 is the real Inhumans, and I think this is really going to start pushing towards the Inhumans film. They know they're out there. They know the Inhumans that were at this afterlife facility have kind of been spread to the wind, but I think they're going to discover more hints and secrets and things pointing towards Adelon and the real Inhumans group. So and I think that's what Sky's team is going to be focusing on at first, is trying to find more of the Inhumans and where they really are focused and located. And then the last thing, and this was something that a lot of people, I thought this was cool. A lot of people didn't like it, but that was the Terrigen vapor, or whatever we're calling it at that point, getting into the food supply. And the omega-3 fish capsules now are going to be basically superpower pills. This is how we are going to get kind of the explosion of powered individuals, which is going to be necessary, I think, for the Civil War to happen. And you're going to have the two sides, Iron Man side, who's going to favor things like the list and registration and whatever that is, versus Captain America, who is not going to want the government overseeing all of these powered peoples because he doesn't trust what the government's going to do with them. So that's what I think season 3 has. What did you guys think of the season finale? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. If you want more discussion on it, more take on it, go to the Stream.tv or Stream TV's YouTube page. I got to be a guest host on their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after show. It was a really good time, really good conversation. A lot of kind of the nerds of the community were there just kind of talking about what we saw. So make sure and check that out. But tell me what you guys think. What did you like about the season finale? What did you hate? What do you think of the theories? Where do you think everything's going? And what do you think's happened with Simmons? So until next season, this has been Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this has been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies.